Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. So, unfortunately, yesterday, 10 people lost their lives due to a mass shooting event in Boulder, Colorado. And before, before the dust settled, the Democrats are already dancing on the graves of these people, and it's disgusting. As the Rock shirt says, guns don't kill people, the Clintons do. But before we get started, how about you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please leave a comment down below because it helps with the algorithm. Let's get started. So why did I want to point out this shirt? It's obviously Photoshopped, guys. It's obviously a joke, right? However, the string of assistants, right? The trail of assistants left behind by the Clintons, who all committed suicide by gunshot to the back of their head. The gun didn't magically kill them. They killed themselves with that gun by gunshot to the back of their head. Just remember that, guys. So it's easy to blame a scary gun because it's loud and it looks scary. You see it in the movies. And the military has a weapon platform that looks similar to what is popular in the United States. It looks similar to the AR-15, but it's not the AR-15, guys. It just looks similar. And I understand that it looks scary, but the Democrats are appealing to your emotions. They're trying to, while you're afraid, while you're agitated, while you're nervous, they're trying to seize on that opportunity to steal, to take away your constitutional right to keep and bear arms because it shall not be infringed. It says so in the Constitution right there. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Cannot be any more Barney simple than that. So, the Democrats, we are with you, Boulder, and are holding the 10 lives that were cut short in our hearts. See how they're appealing to your emotions. Americans deserve action. We will work to pass legislation to end gun violence. You can't pass legislation to end gun violence. As long as there's violent people in the world, people will commit acts of violence. Whether they use guns or knives or cars or bombs or gas or poison or just bare knuckle boxing, acts of violence will occur, and I'll prove to you here in a bit, and ensure that everyone can feel safe in their communities. So, on that last point, if I go to Baltimore or Washington, D.C., or south side of Chicago or New York City or anywhere in California, am I going to feel safe in those places where it's illegal to conceal carry a weapon? Probably not. Those are some of the most dangerous cities in America, yet they have some of the most strict gun control measures in America. So why aren't they so safe? And they go, oh, well, all you got to do is just go over there and get the gun and you just bring it back. Oh, so you're saying that criminals will break the law so they have guns to commit crimes? And they say, well, yeah. So you're expecting law abiding citizens to abide by the law, but you have a documented history of criminals finding a way to circumvent the law, to break the law, and then prey upon law abiding citizens, correct? And they go, well, yeah. So what do you think is going to happen when you take away all the guns from law abiding citizens? What do you think is going to happen when the criminals are the only people left with guns, but nobody else has any guns? And no one has an answer to that. Well, they say, well, we'll buy them back. No, why would a criminal want to sell you a gun for $400 when they know they can use that same gun to rob somebody for $4,000? That's simple economics. That's simple just capitalism, guys. America. It's disgusting. To Kurt Schleicher, we all need to be armed. As Parkland father and activist Fred Gutenberg told us, legal, lawful gun owners never talked about the Second Amendment because it doesn't affect them. We need common sense gun reform now. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm a legal, lawful gun owner. I talk about the Second Amendment because, guess what? I'm old enough to remember. 20 years ago, we get sent into Afghanistan. We're told it's not going to take too long. I'm pretty sure George Bush ran in 2004 saying that we're going to pull the troops out of Afghanistan, right? After 3 years of war, we're tired. We're going to pull them out. It's been 20 years. Those people who don't wear pants and have AK-47s have managed to fend off the United States military, the strongest military force the world has ever known, for 20 years. They don't wear pants. They don't really have electricity in a lot of parts of there, right? But those scrappy fighters managed to hold off Americans for decades. And remember that a well-armed civilian population can withstand even the strongest military force because it's the citizens, right? They know the lay of the land, they know the people, they know where to hide, they know where to get stuff, they know where to stash stuff, they know where stuff's hidden, blah, blah, blah. They're going to succeed. Even if they don't outright win, they will win the battle of wills because they're defending their land. Their heart is in it. They know if they lose their land, they lose everything. They lose their freedom. They lose their rights. They just lose everything. So, my argument is you have, I'll just say 100 million guns in the United States. I'm pretty sure it's way more than that, but I'm going to say 100 million guns in the United States. And you have about, 15 million global war on terrorism veterans just walking around. About 15% of those are shooters. So you have millions of shooters, you have millions of veterans who just vary in scope. You have your shooters, you have your support, you have your people who can teach people how to shoot, people to maintain weapons, people to maintain vehicles, people to drive vehicles, people to do X, Y, and Z, are all trained by the United States government to perform those actions. And a lot of them are armed or have access to weapons because the United States have so many weapons. So say a Russia or a China decided to basically do a targeted strike on all military bases in the United States at the same time and just leveled them all. Now they have to deal with 15 million veterans just walking around the street. Of course, you have some that are just fat slobs, but you still have a lot that are in decent shape or a lot that can get into shape quickly. And then you have your couch warriors who always wanted to join the military and they were really into airsoft and they understand the fundamentals of clearing a room. You can teach those people. You have people that were in the military that can teach people how to clear a room, how to shoot a rifle, how to do X, Y, or Z, how to maintain a vehicle, how to maintain their weapons, how to maintain anything you need to survive in combat. So you can't just level the entire United States because it would be worthless, right? So you would have a China or a Russia just having a military occupation of the entire United States. That won't end well for them because there's more guns. We have a lot of guns in this country. We have a lot of people in this country who know how to use those guns. We have a lot of bullets in this country. It's a war of will. And if the people of the United States believe that the United States is worth protecting, they're willing to shed their blood on American soil to protect the United States from foreign enemies, from domestic enemies. Because guess what? That's the oath we took as veterans while we're in the service. We are sworn to protect the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So if we have a foreign enemy wanting to occupy the United States, you have the civilian population, you have veterans in the country willing to take up arms to protect the country. And people say, well, that's not going to happen because no, they won't. If they want to take over the infrastructure of the United States, they're not going to bomb that infrastructure. They're going to have to basically ground assault these major cities, wherever these major points of infrastructure are. And that's where we'll win. You'll have the people that can supplement the military, or if the military is unable to even react to that because unfortunately Joe Biden sucks at life. And unless Raytheon is directly sponsoring our defense, which they're not, it might be up to the civilians, at least in the short term, to help defend America. Like it or not, that could definitely be a possibility because I don't have faith in our military. I don't have faith in Joe Biden. I don't have faith in Lloyd Austin. I don't have faith in the institution anymore because they've proven just to be a bunch of woke, stupid people. right? They care more about social justice topics than they care about the defense and well being of the United States of America. And that's criminal. You're sworn to uphold the Constitution, and they care about which pronouns you use, or they say, oh, well, we only care about certain domestic terrorism. We don't care about other domestic terrorism because really we see that as protesting. But if somebody else protests, we see that as domestic terrorism. No, guys, it's either all domestic terrorism or it's all protesting. We need to have one standard. Social justice is not a place for the military. Jumping over to Elizabeth Hernandez, he said younger people in the store were taking care of older people in the store, helping them get off the back loading dock. It seemed like all of us had imagined we'd be in a situation like this at some point in our lives. This basically gives me faith in humanity a little bit. I'm tired of seeing videos of people twerking in the street of Miami, people in all out brawls in the street of Miami, people running out on their bar tabs, $2,000 bar tabs in Miami, people punching old Asian people in the face in subways in New York City, people slashing Asian people from ear to ear in, I think it was New York City. So I'm getting sick and tired of just seeing negative, 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 negative thing after negative thing because the news knows that negativity creates basically drives ratings, right? Drives traffics, clickbait. And that's all they push is that negative thing. Orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad. That's why you see them turning on Joe Biden. Joe Biden's now bad because he's throwing kids in a plastic bubble, right? So negativity, negativity, negativity. But you see this, and it basically renews a little bit of faith in people, a little bit of faith in humanity. You see young people willing to do the right thing. They're willing to help their elders get out of a dangerous situation. They're willing to help those at the risk of their own lives. And that's what being American is all about. That is what being a human is all about. That's showing compassion. That's your duty as a person. That's showing respect to your elders. It's extremely important. It's just personal courage at the highest amount. Basically a selfless act, guys. We should recognize the people who did help these older individuals get off that loading dock. They did the right thing. Jumping over to Cenk Uygur, the capitalist establishment pig. Press has obligation to point out that politicians who take money from the NRA have been bribed by the mass murder industrial complex. We never do anything about nonstop massacres in America because politicians care more about their donors than they do about preventing mass murder. Well, no, Cenk, no, they don't. Nobody wants a mass murder. Don't even strawman this. You're trying to create a strawman argument out of nothing, and you're just a douchebag. For people who don't believe that Cenk Uygur is an establishment Democrat or just an establishment capitalist pig, just look up the Young Turks Union and how Cenk Uygur single-handedly basically intimidated the employees of the Young Turks Union and told them he could not afford to basically have them on the payroll as union and threatened them and didn't promote them and penalized them after the union didn't go through. He is just an awful person and he still claims to be a progressive. I hate Cenk Uygur. He's so fake, guys. He's fake. He's a phony. From Newsweek, big pitch for gun control. Colorado shooting, new rallying cry for Democrats. A mass shooting at a King Soopers supermarket in Boulder, Colorado that left 10 people dead has culminated in a renewed call by Democrats for gun control reforms. One unidentified man whose family members hid during the shooting called the incident a big pitch for gun control. No, he did not. I'm sorry. Until you have a named source with a photograph and actually a video of him saying that, I don't trust anything the news say from an unidentified man because guess what? Maybe this was a lie, just like Donald Trump saying, go find the fraud is a lie. So I don't trust unidentified sources anymore from the mainstream media because they're full of it. From Adam Schiff. Once again, a gunman has turned a public space into a site of tragedy. We don't have to live in fear like this. We must pass common sense gun reforms. So what happens if after an investigation, it turns out even with the common sense gun reforms, nothing would have changed? That's a definite possibility. A lot of these mass shootings, they say none of the gun reforms that are being proposed would have changed any of the gun violence. Chuck Schumer, I'm praying for the Boulder community and the first responders. I'm mourning for those we've lost. The Senate must and will move forward on legislation to help stop the epidemic of gun violence. I don't think it's an epidemic of gun violence. I think it's an epidemic of violence. I think it's an epidemic of existential crisis amongst men. And this is going to be a hot take. And I'm going to take this here in a couple of minutes. I'm going to be talking about incels. I'm going to be talking about just basically the sexual repression of men. And I think that's what's leading to a lot of these violent acts of basically these just violent outbursts amongst men. Because guess what? Especially white men, right? So I guess as a person of color, I can, as an outside observer, I can kind of have this conversation, right? Well, we'll have the conversation. I'll sharpshoot. I'll defend white people, even though I look just as white as everybody else, right? But think about it. You're told about toxic masculinity, and it's bad to be masculine, it's bad to be manly, and that you need to be more feminine. That's the wrong answer. You're repressing what it is to be a man. And eventually people are going to snap. And how they snap, it's unpredictable, right? There's a quote somewhere that's basically you drop a vase onto a ground, right? And this is kind of a thing with child abuse, right? You drop a vase onto the ground. Sometimes that vase will just turn into rubble. It'll be useless. And usually those are the people that you'll see always have issues with work, with drugs, with alcoholism, or just have a real hard time in life. It's because they're broken. They're just rubble, right? And then you have the other vase that falls and breaks on the floor, and it turns into basically a dagger. It's extremely sharp. It's a weapon. And you see those people that are extremely cold, they're calculated. Those are people who succeed in the military, they succeed in business, they succeed in life. They're very cutthroat at it. So you have your two people who emerge from an act of violence or emerge from a traumatic experience, right? You have those who just completely just get crushed. And then you have those who basically become a weapon. They're forged from that experience. They're tempered from it. They become stronger. It makes them stronger as an individual. And I think the people that you see violently snapping are the people who turned into rubble and now they're just basically bucking the system. And society can't handle what's happening because we're not prepared as a society for it. You have these Democrats pushing this anti masculine culture, and men are unhappy. Women are unhappy. Everybody's unhappy. The feminization of men and the masculinization of women, both groups of people are unhappy, and you're going to start seeing more and more violent outbursts from this. But I could be wrong. Psychology's like I dabbled in a lot of psychology courses in my undergrad, so I'm not a psychologist, but this is what I believe. I think by repressing just the masculine urges, just the masculine essence of men, it's just going to lead to a lot of these violent acts. And then finally, from Democratic Texas Representative Joaquin Castro wrote, yet another act of senseless gun violence. Congress must finally pass common sense gun safety legislation. But what is common sense? Your common sense to you is tyrannical to me. So maybe let's find some common ground here. But unfortunately, Democrats, it's their way or you're a Nazi, right? And unfortunately, that's where politics have gone to. But let's look at or actually, no, here's incel, right? Member of an online community called incel, self-delusional, egoistic, pretends to be a nice guy, blames others for his deprivation of sex or romantic relationship, often has stereotypes for others, a guy who is unable to find romantic partner or thinks is deprived of sex by other guys called Chad. Guys, possibility to become mass murderer or a school shooter. He is definitely an incel. He hates all girls. So at least in Urban Dictionary, they even point that out. Possibility to become a mass murderer or a school shooter. This is you're just suppressing. You're suppressing that masculine tendency, or you're just suppressing the masculinity of men. And this is going to happen. You're going to have violent outbursts because you can't just keep suppressing masculinity. It's People are just going to just rage. Remember yesterday on my video, basically on one of the videos, I showed a thing from Jack Murphy basically saying nearly 30% of men up from 18 to 30 have had 0 sexual partners. Is that by choice? Is that because of technology? They're addicted to their cell phones. They're addicted to internet pornography. They're trying to compete with other guys on Tinder. Guys, go to a bar, meet a girl. It's not that hard. Super easy to meet a girl. Super easy to have a casual relationship. This is 2021. If you want a serious relationship, you can find plenty of women who would be interested in a serious relationship. If you want something casual, I'm sure you can find plenty of women who would be interested in a casual relationship. Whatever your desires are, you don't need your cell phone for it. Just go to the bar, have a conversation with people. Like I said, all you got to do, order your drink. You don't even have to be drinking alcohol, guys. If you don't drink, a bar is a social place. People forget bars isn't only to get drunk, to get sloshed. It's the local watering hole. It's to meet people in your community, to meet people you would otherwise have never met, right? To meet people you have otherwise would never have met. So it's important to go out. It's important to socialize. If you don't like bars, you can go to bowling alleys. You can go to clubs. You can go plenty of places you can go to meet people, but it requires you to go out into public. Get out from behind your computer, as I say this, from behind a computer, of course, and talk to people. Now, my job, thankfully, I talk to a lot of people, have a lot of interesting conversations, and it's just super interesting. And you see people's body reactions when you're comfortable talking to people, especially people who aren't comfortable talking to others. And as somebody who's extremely comfortable to talk or extremely comfortable talking to people, I'm less comfortable talking to a camera. I am extremely comfortable talking to people. It's just you ease people into a conversation. You do it real simple. You ask them how they're doing, how their day's going. You ask them what their name is, what they do for a living. Guys, it's not that hard to meet people. Don't be afraid. Don't repress your masculinity, because one day you will snap. One day you will wake up and you could kill yourself. You could go out and you could hurt people. You need to find an outlet for your masculinity. And a lot of times that's with a partner. A lot of times that's even just with friends, right? So you have friends and you go bowling, you go to the gym, you lift heavy things, right? I had somebody ask me today, he was like, "Oh, are you into bodybuilding?" I was like, "Not really, because my back's all messed up. I'm like limping because my hip flexors are all sore." And he's like, "Oh, but what's your diet?" And it's like, I just kind of eat whatever. If I'm like cutting weight for bodybuilding, I follow a real strict diet, basically keto, 1 meal a day. But for everything else, I kind of just eat 2 meals a day, kind of whatever. I just try to keep my calories under a certain amount. And, and then he asked me about what I lift. And it's like, I lift really heavy weights and I put them back down. In fact, I think I may have broken my wrist today. And it's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to basically leave it sitting around for a couple days, see how it feels. I think I might have an avulsion fracture in my wrist. I think I might have re-broken it. I broke it a couple years ago, and I was lifting an 80-pound dumbbell to do some shoulder presses, and I felt a pop, and it really hurt. Not gonna lie. But guys, you need to find an outlet for that masculine energy. You're going to lift weights. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to look better. You're going to be more attractive to the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever you're into. It's all good. No judgments from me. But you need to find an outlet. And that's what's important. If you don't find an outlet, your outlet is going to be violence. And that does nobody any good at all. So these acts of violence that will be committed by people who don't have guns. If Democrats want to snatch all our guns away, people will still kill people. Guns are not the issue. People are the issue. 37 injured in a knife attack at elementary school in China. The attack, which took place in Kangwoo County in the southern I can't pronounce that. Saw all 39 victims hospitalized, though none were in serious condition. The 37 children were slightly injured. And then they go in October 2018, a woman wielding a kitchen knife slashed at least 14 children at a kindergarten. 9 students were killed at a middle school in Shaanxi province in April 2018 by a 28-year-old man who was later sentenced to death. In 2017, 11 students were injured after a man climbed over a wall of a kindergarten with a knife and began attacking them. So, guys, you just need a knife. That's all you got to do. You don't need a gun. From the Independent, Ohio State University attack, suspect killed after 9 injured in possible terror attack. So he drove a truck into a crowd of people and then hopped out with a butcher knife and started slashing at people, started stabbing several people at Ohio State University. Fortunately, the first officer on the scene managed to shoot and kill the suspect. You don't need a gun to commit terrorism. Guns are not the issue. Crazy people doing crazy things is the problem. Violence is the issue. We need to find out the cause of this violence. Supreme Court to consider death sentence in Boston Marathon bombing case. And you see this guy with his crazy hair. The Supreme Court said on Monday that it would review an appeals court decision that threw out the death sentence of, I can't pronounce that, Sarnav, who was convicted of helping carry out the 2013 Boston Marathon bombings. Last year, a 3-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit in Boston upheld on 27 counts. Let's see, how many people did he manage to kill? It was a lot, I believe. Let's see. He killed 3 people and injured 260, many of them grievously. Right? So we've gone from guns and now we've gone to bombs. And then CNN, Oklahoma City bombing, fast facts. The blast killed 168 people, including 19 children, and injured several hundred more. Timothy McVeigh and Terry L. Nichols were convicted of the attack. The federal building was later razed and a park and memorial were built on the site. So guys, again, you don't need a gun to commit an act of terrorism. Guns aren't the issue. Crazy people are the problem. Violence is the problem. You need to find out the reason why violent people are being violent and identify those issues. We need to basically allow our community to identify those around them who have violent tendencies. We need to stop attacking men for being men, because a lot of these times the people who have these violent outrages, I don't think any of these people so far would identify as those people, but I think the Atlanta shooter might. I could be wrong. We'll see how that plays out, right? A lot of people are saying he's an incel and that he has a sex addiction issue. So my thing with the Atlanta shooter is, so if he has a sex addiction issue, and the only way for him to deal with that sex addiction, right? The only way for him to get to have a sexual release is by paying for it. And he feels like a scumbag every time he pays for it. Eventually he's going to snap, because toxic masculinity and then the lockdowns and COVID, and you can tell by his neck beard, he probably doesn't get a lot of ladies. He's going to snap. We need to basically celebrate masculinity again. It used to be celebrated before. You have people like The Rock who are celebrated for being masculine, but they have the right political ideology. You have Chris Evans, who is celebrated for being juiced up to the gills with steroids, but he has the right political ideology. If you have a conservative who is in shape, that's just toxic masculinity. You have your, Ted Kennedys? I think it's Tim Kennedy. Horrible with names. It is not a flex. I've been hit in the head a lot. I've had a lot of traumatic brain injuries. So there's times where I will literally be halfway through a thought, halfway through a video, and I'll forget if I had said something 10 minutes before, because this is unscripted, guys. I'm going through these articles and I'm just talking off the cuff. And sometimes I'll have to re-record something, or worse yet, like I'll forget to record the video and I'll have to re-record the entire thing, and I'll forget what I did say or what I didn't say. It's pretty funny. It's a process, right? But guys, we need to allow men to be masculine again. I think you would see a decrease in violence. And I think that's why you see the violence that you're seeing in Miami, these street fights, right? Just people getting in fights for no reason. Masculine men, like real alpha men, don't really get in fights for no reason because if they have nothing to prove. I don't get in fights for no reason. I'm not saying that I'm like the most alpha of guys, but I don't seek out a fight. Why would I want to get in a fight? Because crazy things can happen in a fight. I don't know if I'm getting in a fight with somebody with a gun or a knife or somebody who has a multiple black belts in jiu-jitsu and is just going to basically melt like butter all over me and choke me 8 different times before I have my neck broken. Anything can happen, right? So I don't seek out violence, but I'm willing to defend myself. I'm willing to defend my home if somebody were to break into it. So we need to celebrate masculinity. We need to celebrate being a man. Men don't just get in fights. Men just don't slap other men in the face for no reason. That's that's what feminine men do, guys. We need to be masculine. It's important. You'll be more happy. Jumping over to September 11th. This is exaggeration for effect, but this is important. 19 men hijacked 4 fuel-loaded U.S. commercial airplanes bound for West Coast destinations. A total of 2,977 people were killed in New York City, Washington, D.C., and outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The attack was orchestrated by al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. So, guys, don't need a car, don't need a knife, don't need a bomb. People have done it with airplanes. From Guy Benson, these shootings are obviously newsworthy and must be covered. Compelling way to perhaps prevent or mitigate potential copycat effects in news coverage is to barely acknowledge show perpetrator's name or image, in my opinion. From Ryan Savdera. Media contagion effect. Research has found that the likelihood of a mass shooting is significantly higher when another mass shooting has recently occurred. That's from the Wall Street Journal. So, guys, we need to stop celebrating these mass shootings. We need to stop giving them so much attention. But we need to find the underlying cause, and it's not the guns. I know guns are scary if you're anti-gun. I know a lot of the people on here are actually veterans, and we have conversation in the comments a lot, and we agree on a lot of stuff. So I'm pretty sure we're in complete agreement here. Guns to civilians, to people who have never shot a gun, who have never been around a gun, they look scary, they sound scary, they can be intimidating. Just go out and shoot a gun. They're not that scary. They're not that hard to shoot. And that's probably the scariest part of a lot of these guns. It's not hard to do, but it's not that hard to drive your truck into a crowd of people like you saw in South Carolina. It's not that hard to stab 11 kids in China, apparently, and then you're put to death. It's not that hard. If you're motivated enough to kill people, you will find a way. So you can ban guns, but then are you going to ban knives and then bombs and then cars and then kids and then men and then women? Because you even saw that there was a woman who committed the stabbings. You're going to have to ban everybody. You're going to have to basically legislate safety, and you can't legislate life. People are going to be violent. You can create a penalty for killing, right? You can have penalties for murder. We have those laws in the books. But you can't legislate away the motivation to murder. You can't legislate away the need to kill somebody, because some people are just broken, right? They're just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and they have that just need to kill something. So they'll take it out on animals, and eventually they'll take it out on humans. That's why it's an early warning sign. If you have a kid that kills animals, get that kid into therapy, get that kid some help, because you need to take care of it. You need to see those early warning signs, and you need to address them. And that's what we have going on in society. We're failing to address the underlying issues. We're basically putting paint over a moldy wall. That's all we're doing. We're just putting paint over a moldy wall, thinking, oh, gun control is going to fix everything. No, it's not. Guys, we need to basically rip that mold out from the walls of our house. And what the mold is in our house, in my opinion, is this social justice warrior BS. this feminization of men, this toxic masculinity is bad. No, when they say toxic masculinity is bad, they're saying masculinity is bad. And that is dangerous because you don't want a country of weak men defending that country, because you will no longer have a country for very long. So that's gonna be it for now, friends. I know this video was a lot longer than my other videos, but it's an important topic. It's something that is real close to me. So you guys had to suffer through it. So I'll see y'all in a couple hours. Have a good one. Bye.